a life-limiting condition. Despite my ups and downs, I will not allow it to limit my ability to truly live. Well-being is my passion. In this series, I interview all the people who help and inspire me to work body, mind and spirit naturally and choose happiness. Come join me on my well-being adventure. Well, hello Steve, thanks for agreeing to have a chat with me today. I believe that I'm on this kind of self-discovery journey. Stripping back the layers, finding myself again. And I look up to role models, and you're one of mine. You inspire me. So could you just tell us, start from scratch, what led you to this point in life?
Okay, so how long you got? So what led me? So the fast forward version, I guess, would be when I was 13. I had a great childhood, fantastic, everything went well, and what you'd say was, nothing's perfect, is it? But as perfect as you get as a childhood, mother and father, everything was good. Of course I had some issues, like anyone else has, but everything was good, Then unfortunately, when I was 12-year-old, my father had his first heart attack. I went to see him in hospital, he had wires all over him, and as a 12-year-old child I didn't know how to react to it. I didn't know what was wrong. I was used to seeing my father in a suit, looking very smart, confident, and it was a big shock. Anyway, after that, he started to get over it. He started to do training again. He was cycling, gave up smoking, etc. So, I kind of forgot about it. Then, unfortunately, when I was on my way back from playing five-a-side football, my friends were telling me, quick, go up to your house, there's an ambulance there. Ran up to the house, there was notes everywhere saying go next door to see your neighbours and stuff. Went in next door, and they said that my father had had another heart attack. So they gave me a cup of tea. I remember the cup was shaking, like there's a tea going everywhere. I couldn't hold it straight. I was a nervous wreck, really. I was only 13. And my brother came back. My mother couldn't speak to me. My brother came back and he took me for a spin up the mountain. He said, Steve, Dad's had a heart attack. I know he had one a year ago. This one was a bigger one. And he's not coming back from it. So I was 13-year-old and I was went to the funeral, and in the funeral, okay, the priest was talking about this, that from scriptures and stuff. But the questions I had was, where's my father gone? What is the point of this? What is the point of life? Where's my father gone? And what's it all about, basically? And I didn't feel that I gained those answers from the minister or from the priest in the funeral, for example. So from that moment on, I made it a quest of mine to find out all those answers. It was an internal thing, and I just, I didn't express that to anyone else, but it was just an internal thing that I made a request to myself that I wanted to find out the answers to those questions. And bit by bit, they started coming. As with anything, when you make an intention to the universe, then answers start to come. But don't get me wrong, it didn't come without challenges. So in my teens and stuff, I went to the depths of suicidal depression, to be honest with you, after alcohol and drugs, etc. Trying to get over my father's, the loss of my father, really, and trying to escape the emotions and stuff. So then from that depth, again, I started really praying sincerely. And I think sometimes it's the biggest challenges we have in life which end up being the biggest blessings. Because I remember my life coach saying to me after my dad died, when I was trying to sort myself out, and he's saying, give me 100 positive things that have come from your father's death. And I thought he was crazy at the time. 100 positive things. I've just lost my father. What type of a question is that? Or it was a few years on, but actually it flipped my consciousness, and it got me thinking, wow, I don't have to think of this poor me type of mentality. I can actually think positively about a so-called negative incident. So that just got me on a quest, And there's so many other things. I mean, yeah, we'd probably get into it throughout but that was one of the biggest motivators. And recently, something that's really happened. I've lost quite a lot of people around me recently, again, you know, and again, so-called negative incident, and you know, it was and of course for their close family, it is a big thing, and for me, it was a big loss. Like rugby players, people that I've played with close, all my age. I'm only 36. People like my age or just a little bit older, and recently there's been quite a lot that have gone, you know. One in particular was a client of mine, and I gave her a manuscript of my book, and she was going to read the manuscript and then come back with feedback. She went to Egypt, and when she was in Egypt, unfortunately, she lost her life. So she came, and one of the last things she said before she went to Egypt was, make sure you get this book out there. So that was a big motivator, and I think like death is one of the biggest thing. Sorry to get into this right at the start of the interview, but like death is one of the biggest things that can happen to. It is one of the biggest things that can happen to all of us in life. It's one thing that's guaranteed. However, recently I've been using, and since my father's death, I've been using it as an inspiration, to be honest with you, because it just made me realise that we haven't got that long, and to get on with it, to give me a kick up the backside, if you like, to say, right, get on with it. And that's how I got my book out then. And that was the motivator, was my client, because that happened to her and my rugby mates. And I was thinking, God, you know, what did they take to their grave with them? Did they take like unmet goals, achievements and desires with them? And I was thinking, I'm not taking any to mine. So, you know, I'm going to try my best anyway to fulfill everything that I want to in my life.
Do you happen to know what the top 3 things that people regret when they die?
No, do you?
No.
I have heard somebody saying it. There's some priests and monks that have, and there's a famous quote, isn't there, which says, you know, people they don't regret like checking their bank accounts or something, for example. You know, they regret it's things like spending time with loved ones, spending quality time with loved ones and things. You know, so yeah, it's very interesting. I did a vlog on that recently, saying about because I went to see my grandfather, and after seeing my grandfather, I realised that, do you know what? You know, sometimes I'm doing all of this stuff, but sometimes I can be forgetting to do the really important things in life, which is just going to see my grandfather. Because I went to see him and I realised that not that I'm anything special, but I went to see him and I could see it lifted him, you know. And it was something small, but it really touched my heart. And I was thinking, wow, you know, I should do that more often. So yeah, it's doing the important things in life alongside your desires. Of course, you have to do them as well, but just being mindful. Yeah, remembering the small things that are important, as important sometimes.
So you were saying about your younger self. So you were praying. So had you always been religious, or?
Not at all. No, my dad was very scientific, and he believed in science more than God, really. So when I lost him, it gave me an opportunity to kind of look within, and I didn't get, I think I got christened when I was 12, I think, but the only reason I got christened was because I asked my parents to be christened, because everyone else was christened and I wasn't, and I didn't know why. So I didn't really know anything about it, to be honest. It was more of a thing, everyone else had it, so why haven't I got it, kind of thing. But then maybe that was a start, I don't know, from that, you know, from the blessing from the priest, maybe that was a start of things getting shown to me, I don't know. But I have always been inquisitive, not from a religious sense, but maybe from more of a scientific, like what's it all about, how do we get here, what came first, the chicken or the egg? I've always, even from a very young age, I've had, I used to like, I wasn't so much into toys and stuff, I was more into things like magic and so I've always had, I've always queried the unknown, or things that are a bit more subtle in their nature. And then gradually, step by step, I got more religious or spiritual, if you like. I'd rather say spiritual, really. And then eventually I ended up moving into a Hare Krishna temple and living as a celibate monk for 2 years.
Okay.
So
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I mean, leading up to that, like I started praying more, and as I was praying, I was reading things like the law of attraction and things, and I started studying metaphysics. I got a degree in metaphysics, and then I was putting all this stuff into practice and realising the power of prayer. And I was praying and things were working out, and I was getting everything. Externally, things looked like they were going really well. But because I'd been earning quite a lot of money in my previous sales position, when I got into doing kind of healing and things like that with my metaphysics, unfortunately, my bills were more than my income. So it looked like I was doing really well because I had an events company and stuff, etc. I released the book the first time. It looked good externally, but it wasn't, financially I wasn't doing so well. But not only that, the main reason was I could feel, because I was meditating a lot and stuff, I could feel at that time that there was like a thin veil in between this world and the more spiritual realm, I guess. I could feel that there was something else, but I didn't know quite what it was. I was looking into conspiracy theories, and I was getting into that and getting into it quite deep and thinking like, yeah, but there must be another purpose in that. It's not just about like fear and, you know, control and stuff. There must be something beneath it all. So I remember I was in the shower one day and I was in tears praying really sincerely to God, and I was saying, please show me the truth. What is it? I need to know the truth. I know there's more. Show me it. A couple of weeks later, I was doing a healing in a natural living show in Swansea, and one of my mates came over and he said, over there you want to be with the Krishnas. Govinda's at a stall there doing food and stuff, you know, like vegetarian, vegan stuff. And he said, they've got it, they know it, like that. And he's from Llanelli, was Paul. And I said, and you know, I was a little bit egotistical thinking that I knew it all with my kind of healing and my metaphysics and stuff. But I did go over and I started having some pakoras and some of their food and everything. I was like, whoa, this is pretty tasty. So how do you meditate and stuff? What do you do, you know? And they said, we got a Sunday program every week. Do you fancy coming? I'll be there this Sunday, because I like taking action. That's one thing that, you know, we just had an event recently that you attended, you know, when it called New Year, New You, and one of the things I promoted there was taking action, and that's one thing that I do in my life. If there's something that inspires me, I believe in just going for it, you know. So I went anyway. I took some of my friends and stuff with me, and oh wow, it was just like coming home, you know. I heard the kirtan, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So we meditating along to that. And before that, I'd always done like stillness meditation and stuff, which was nice and it was quite peaceful. But this had drums and a harmonium and cartels. It was melodious. People were dancing. I was like, wow, this is where I want to be. Just before that, I was looking to go to... some people call it happy clapping, don't they? You know, I was looking for gospel type of thing. So this ticked all the boxes for that, and somebody tapped me on my leg because I had my eyes closed. I was really getting into the chanting, and they opened the curtains on the altar, and there was beautiful gold light and deities there. I was like, wow, this is beautiful. And then Tarakanath started reading, the temple president started reading from the Bhagavad Gita, and that was it, game over. It was just the philosophy to go along with that. It was so deep and nourishing for my heart and soul. I was just like, wow, I know I'm in the right place. It felt like I'd come home. It's what I've been looking for all my life.
Okay, so it's basically listening to yourself in a way, isn't it? Because yourself is telling you, you're home, this is it. So, gotta trust yourself.
Yeah, and, you know, praying and looking for... So when you're asking or praying, looking for the... You know, because sometimes we pray for something, but it can come in a different form. So it's not maybe what we're quite expecting, but it's what we really need. You know, maybe it's not what we want, but it's what we need. And so yeah, being mindful of that when we make a prayer or intention or set a goal, that sometimes things that come, they may come dressed in a different form than what we expect. So being mindful of that, really looking out for it and checking in with our intuition as well, because God speaks to us in our heart, the divine speaks to us in our heart as well, I believe. And from the ancient text it also says that as well. So yes, checking out with ourselves in our heart, maybe checking out with other holy people or other kind of advanced spiritual people, as well. So taking guidance then from other people, mentorship and stuff from other people, just to check, because sometimes we may feel that it's intuition, but it can be the mind playing tricks with us as well. But in general, just being mindful without getting too much into the head, just being mindful and thinking, like, because now when I ask for something and it gets delivered, not always, but often I know when it's getting, look out for signs as well. Sometimes they may come on a lorry or a bus or literally on a sign on a billboard, you know. Sometimes it says exactly the thing that you were looking for, you know, or the things that, because the divine, they can speak to us. There's a lovely quote, and I can't remember it exactly, but it says that our teachers can be, it can be the wind, it can be the trees, it can be the sea. You know, our teachers can come from many different forms. When we're in tune with the divine, it can speak to us in many different ways. So it's just being aware of that and then taking the guidance and going with it, basically.
Actually, I've found myself in the last couple of years, I've become more spiritual. And I can now, I think it's to do with being mindful as well. I can see when things happen, things just fall into place. And I can see things happen, I'm like, that happened because of that. So, and I think it makes you a happier person in a way, because if something bad happens, you're mindful and see, okay, that happened because of that. So I think it's a really good way of a good mindset, really. And I feel, I don't know if you feel it, Tina, as well, but you feel like more connected. You feel more connected, more present, more aware, and there's a satisfaction within that. You know, like I highlighted about my father and losing him. Part of the thing that was hurting was because, like, I felt my father when he was in the coffin, he was freezing cold, but he wasn't there. His body was there, but he wasn't there. His essence, his soul, if you like, wasn't there. I remember that feeling, and I was thinking, like, well, where is he? But then, like I said about listening to the Bhagavad Gita and the philosophy, then the philosophy told me what had happened, like about, like, you know, his soul has gone on somewhere else. Like there's a nice example of that. When I was speaking, I got interviewed on TV with Martha O'Neill once, and she was also looking to find out where her father had gone. On Ble Wyt Ti Nawr, Where Are You Now, it was called, the programme. And one way that we helped to explain it was that if you're all on a train together, families all on a train together, then Dad's just jumped off at one stop, you've carried on, but he's jumped off on another stop to get on with something else, you know, on his next journey, if you like. So I thought that was a nice, simple example to understand that, you know, it's not that he's gone on to something else, you know, and I thought that satisfied my soul more, because thinking that he'd just gone into like what he believed, he actually believed that when you're gone, your body goes back, and of course your body does go back into the ground, and then it recycles, if you like. But what happens to the soul, your essence of who you are, you know? And that's what satisfied me so much about spirituality is, hearing that, but also somewhat realising that as well. Having the realisation of that is very satisfying, because even if, you know, one of the biggest fears I guess most people have got is death, and then even if that biggest fear comes, that it's okay, you know, we don't, it's not finite, it's not the end, you know, there's something else. So there's a good book in relation to that, and The Celestine Prophecy, I don't know if you've read that, but that is in relation to about synchronicities. That was a very influential book that I read, and I found when I read that book, it was all about synchronicities, and then after I read that book, it just blew my mind, really. Because the more you focus on something, the more that thing expands as well. So the more you focus on synchronicities, the more synchronicities expand. The more you focus on positive thought, the more that expands, more spirituality. So focus on what the trouble is, most of us focus on the things we don't want, so they expand. So what we need to be doing is focusing more on the things that we want and desire, and then they expand. I think it's a habit with everyone's just, how was your day, and you say all the rubbish things that happened that day. You forget about the good little things. Or you won't even take notice of one little good thing, because it was so little, the things that went wrong were bigger.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So it's just people to start changing that habit.
Yeah, it's conditioning, isn't it? It's like when I went to Australia to live, it was fascinating because when I was going into shops, like I think, you know, the weather is quite a big thing in the UK, I think, because in Australia, when I was one of the big things we speak about most is weather, isn't it? When you speak to a stranger, oh, you know, it's quite drab today, it's quite wet today, quite cold today, whatever. But I think that was the first thing we said when we went, oh, it's cold today, didn't it? Yeah. But then, of course, in Australia, it's like, oh, lovely day, great, isn't it? Happy days, you know, it's just, so, you know, I think weather can be one thing, but like we say, it's conditioning and training ourselves, because we can train ourselves to think in a different way, and then it really does transform our lives when we change our mind.
So you talk a lot about spirituality. Just thinking, a lot of people that I will know, that wouldn't really interest them. They'd be like, they'll switch off straight. You think about, you're talking about that. So
hopefully they listen this far then.
Stick with us, keep going. But like, if they're struggling, maybe in a dead-end job or just feeling depressed, what would you tell them if they weren't interested in that side of things? What would you tell them? Where would their starting point be?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, because I mean, like for example, the first type of books of personal development I started reading was there was Paul McKenna, You Can Change Your Life in 7 Days, or you know, you could buy The Warrior of Peace, for example. That would be a good start. And it's got because that's got a lot of my journey of how I got over things, and it's not all, to be honest, the end of the book is more about spirituality, but leading up to that was more about mindset stuff, dietary stuff. So one thing is looking after the foundation. What I believe, like for something that I do, which is called self-mastery, is, so people call me the self-mastery, the number one self-mastery expert. So within that, I believe that the foundation is health, so physicality, basically. And then up from that is the mind. So then we need to, like what we're talking about, positive thought, being mindful of not emphasizing too much on negativity, etc. And that's not to say that some people confuse sometimes positivity and negativity. It's okay to talk about things which, again, you're down, or things that you need to work on and stuff. But it's just not emphasising them so much. It's emphasising the positive, you know. You cup this half full rather than half empty, basically. So yeah, focusing things like that for the mind, and then the spirit comes after that. So, and what we find with the School of Naturopathic Nutrition, which I run with my wife, is that when people start sorting their health out, they start detoxing things like alcohol, cigarettes, prescription drugs even. When people start getting these toxins out of their system and start putting good stuff in, then almost automatically, because the mind, body and spirit are connected, when you clean up one, it has a knock-on effect on the other. So you clean up the body, and then it's like, oh, what's this mind stuff, personal development, that'll start coming on your radar. You start doing the mind stuff, and then once you start to master a bit of that, then you start to expand yourself again. So you detox on the mind, emotions, etc., some old things in your life and things. Start to detox that, then you start to look like more spiritually. Because when we were talking about, in our course last Saturday, I was teaching about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Are you familiar with that? It's a pyramid basically, and it talks about the physiology, the safety, love and connection, and it's a triangular pyramid. And reaching up to eventually self-actualization. So, but if we haven't got, what he says is, if we haven't met our needs, our basic needs of security, love, sex, food, breathing, etc., if we haven't met those needs, then we can't even envisage any of the higher stuff, because we're so focused on getting our needs met in that area, keeping a roof over our head, our job, money, finances, health, whatever it is, the basic human needs that we have. If we haven't got them sorted, it can be very difficult to focus on something higher. So what I would suggest to people, if they're maybe working a 9 to 5 and they're not happy in the 9 to 5 job, for example, is to start maybe working on your health. You know, and if you wanted any tips or advice on that, we've got a mailing list in the School of Naturopathic Nutrition. Our website is lovenaturopathy.co.uk. If you go on there, you can join our mailing list, and we send out free stuff on our mailing list. There's plenty of free videos and stuff on there, content as well. There's an online health program that you can do, for example. So yeah, I'd looking at your health first, then maybe the mind, or maybe together, the health and the mind together. And don't worry about spirituality. Just find that you'll probably find, not always, but you probably find that as you start progressing in personal development, you'll start getting a bit more inquisitive about that type of stuff. You know? Yeah, if you're not spiritual, or if you're not into spirituality, religion, or if you've got any hang-ups around it, don't worry about it. Just focus on it scientifically. Do a little experiment. Do a scientific experiment and start putting these like personal development tools into place. Looking at your health, doing a detox, doing a mind detox, and then just see what happens. Because what happens when we got a void, the universe loves a void and it fills it. So if we create the void by taking negative things out, then it likes to fill it with something new, and it's usually an upgraded version. So you know, so changing your hard drive, it's like putting in a new hard drive. So so then from that point you can start to go to a different level.
So you mentioned naturopathy. Do you want to tell us how you got into it?
Yeah, I'd love
it all happened.
Yeah, I'd love to. Yeah, it's quite a story, because when I was in London, my health wasn't so good at one point, and I just went to have a fertility test. So I went to have a fertility test, and I got told that I wouldn't have any babies basically in this life, pretty much. They said I had like a very high percentage of non-swimmers, etc. So I was really gutted, to be honest, because I'd always wanted a family. Anyway, cut the long story short, I came back from London to sort my health out, came back to Wales, the nice fresh air in Wales, and a bit of loving from Mum. And then what I step by step started to sort my health out. And then I was into all the spirituality and stuff. I moved into the temple. My health then wasn't so good when I moved out of the temple. So I moved out of the temple, and my health wasn't very good. I started having like electrosensitivity symptoms, which for anyone watching, if they don't know what that is, it's just like mobile phones, Wi-Fi, etc. I was very sensitive around them. I felt like nauseous, dizzy. I couldn't be in city centres or on mobile phone shops. People couldn't even speak on a mobile phone in close vicinity to me because I'd feel sick, etc. And so I was trying to get to the bottom of this. I was working with a therapist. Things weren't working very well, and then I kept asking I was asking a friend of mine if she had any advice. I knew she was training in naturopathy. And she said, yeah, you need to see Emma. She said, you need to see Emma. She said, you need to see Emma. But on the third time, I really listened, because she told me like 3 times. Right, okay, things usually come in threes. Right, I got to go for this. So I ditched my other therapist, and I thank you, but it's not working really. And I went to see Emma. And wow, she was just phenomenal. So Emma's the founder of the School of Naturopathic Nutrition. She's amazing. She's got so much knowledge in naturopathy, isn't she? And so I was speaking to her about all the up-to-date stuff that I've been researching from America and stuff, and she was talking back to me about raw food and much more than what I'd researched. I was like, wow, I'm in the right place. And my mum was in with me in the interview, funnily enough, and or in the session. And when we got to the point about fertility, we asked my mum and her assistant to leave, and then Emma said to me, so I told her the story about London, etc. And she said, we can sort that out. That's not a problem. Just by changing your diet, adding some superfoods in, etc. I was like, wow, because somebody in a white coat, like so-called like professional, had told me that, I just accepted it as a belief. Even though I've done all this personal development, I just accepted that, and I made it my belief that I wasn't going to have kids. But she just came and said, no, it's no problem, we'll sort that out. I was like, wow, okay, great. So we started doing it step by step, and one thing led to another. We started becoming closer than just therapists. She was just my therapist, and I was a client, and yeah, we started getting closer, and yeah, one thing led to another. We got engaged when I got my health back on track. We got married and stuff, and now we got 2 beautiful daughters. So the proof is in the pudding.
Yeah.
You know, it works. And I always say this story to prospective people that are going to train with us and clients and stuff, because that's why I'm so inspired about it. It's worked in my life. You know, I didn't think I was going to have kids, and I got 2 beautiful daughters now. So yeah, it can do so many different things for us, and that's why I love to advocate it.
Do you know, seeing so many people not being able to have kids and now having IVF and stuff, and it's on the rise.
Yeah.
Does it make you annoyed that you know the answer for them to have kids, but you can't get through to people?
Yeah, sometimes it's like anything, I suppose. Unfortunately, sometimes naturopathy, with me as well, it's the last port of call. Because people try the medical system, for example, they try IVF. Like Emma's had quite a few clients which have come and they've had rounds and rounds of IVF. And then they'd make some tweaks to their diet, take some maca, for example, you know, some superfoods like maca, zinc, they get the essential fatty acid balance, they get hydrated, and then, you know, it's quite simple tweaks, to be honest, and then they get pregnant, you know, so it's, it can be frustrating, but everything, at the same time, everything's meant to be, and, you know, it's, everything happens in divine timing. I believe that things are changing, even within like the National Health Service and stuff, for example. Like, people are becoming more aware of alternative stuff. Doctors, specialists as well are also starting to take note of alternative things. So I believe it's a matter of time. Like down in America, down in Australia and New Zealand, like naturopathy is very, very popular. And it's not quite at that point yet in the UK, but I think it's going to get there quite soon, to be honest. With the vegan movement, for example, it's very cool now to be vegan or plant-based. So I think it's only a matter of time before it infiltrates into conventional. It's already there. I mean, you've only got to look in Tesco's now, like the health food aisle in Tesco's, for example. It's just the plant milks. You know, they're all expanding by the minute. Every time I go there, they seem to be getting bigger. So if it's doing that in supermarkets, it's showing there's a demand for it, you know. And there's even on conventional TV programs, people talk, like Jamie Oliver talking about putting a tax on sugar, for example, you know. So it's yeah, I think it's only a matter of time, because we got to a state, the planet is in a state of crisis. We need 2.5 planets to carry on just as we are. Never mind if we carry on, we need 2.5 planets. We've only got one. We're not going to, you know. We've got to make a change, and we've got to make a change quite fast, I think. We're getting to that crisis point now. But somebody told me recently the crisis in Latin translates to transformation. So crisis gives us an opportunity personally and on a world level, gives us an opportunity to transform. So it's looking at challenges or crises from a different perspective and seeing where the blessing is in that.
Okay. I came to your event last week, New Year, New You.
Yeah.
And I really enjoyed it. I've got a goal in my mind, and I've got an action plan, and I've been keeping to it.
Awesome.
So, but for people who haven't come, what would you say if they've got goals? How do they start going about it? Because a lot of people think it's just dreams that will never be reached. But how do you start taking action? Because that's the main thing, taking action. Yeah,
too right. And that's part of the reason why I set up the New Year, New You, is because I see many of my friends, clients and stuff, not so much clients because I'm working with them, but maybe friends and stuff, or people who've got these pipe dreams, these things that they speak about, but even when you're listening to them, it's just something that's so far away, it's so unreal, you know, it's so big that they don't know what the steps are to get to it. So one practical thing that people can do is, currently it's being edited, but maybe by the time this goes out, there'll be an online version of that event, which will be, so there'll be like a goal setting version of that. There's the a network that I've set up, the Warriors of Peace network, where I also share like things like goal setting techniques, speaking training, video training, how to do your social media, how to advertise on social media, how to advertise in general, you know, branding. We'll be highlighting all of these different things within the network. Reason being, the reason why I've set it up is because of that reason really. I see so many people that have got gifts, talents, dreams to offer to other people, but they don't know what to do in between that in order to achieve it, you know. But there's a lot of practical steps that we can take. That people have already done before us. So it's just a matter of doing those things, and then you can achieve your dreams and your goals, you know. There's a system, or there's a system of things you need to know in order to achieve those. And that's what you know, just for the purpose of this video, you know, those are things you can do if you'd like to get involved with the Warriors of Peace or with myself. But practically, setting goals, I would advise to go to somebody that has already achieved what you would like to achieve, or they're already been successful in an area that you'd like to be successful in, and hunting them down, asking them questions, ask them how they did it, and then from that you can start, you know, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just copy basically what other people have done to achieve what you want to achieve. It's quite simple. Yeah. And we saw Tony Robbins says, stand on the shoulders of giants. You know, we don't have to we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We just mimic what other people have done before us. Sometimes when we've got goals and ambitions and stuff, we want to be unique, or we want to be, you know, we want to be special. And that's good. You've got like a unique selling proposition, like, you know, your USP. That's really fantastic. But the chances are there's probably many people that have already done what you're looking to achieve, or something similar to it, you know. So yeah, it's when we can humble ourselves to that, and humble ourselves to take lessons and teachings from other people that have already done it, then that's when the magic starts to happen. Because there's a lot of practical things we can do in order to achieve our goals. Don't get me wrong, like I was saying about the praying and stuff earlier, visualizing, manifesting, that all works. But oftentimes there's practical steps that we need to take as well. And the journey of 1,000 miles starts with just one step. So take that one step, push yourself out of your comfort zone. I was looking at something earlier, and I was saying about where you're at, and there was a circle, or your comfort zone then, and I was saying where the magic happens. So the magic is over there. So it's just being mindful that sometimes you have to step out of that comfort zone, even if it is a spiritual goal or a religious goal or a philanthropic goal. We still have to put the effort in. We have to put the yards in. We have to put, and then bit by bit, and then the universe or the divine thinks like they're quite serious about this. I'll start to give them little blessings along the way, you know. So yeah, being mindful of those blessings as they come in, and just like Hansel and Gretel, they drop sweets or something when they're back from the house. But it's just following the little tips or the little guidance or the secrets, like I was saying about the billboards or the signs, that's what I'm looking for. Just following those signs. So you make the intention, and then just be mindful, follow those signs. So make the intention, ask and pray, you know, even if you don't believe in God, even if you don't believe in the universal powers, and just suspend your disbelief for a minute. Like when you sit in a cinema, right? We all sit in the cinema and we watch, you know, Tom Hanks is playing some part, for example, and we're not sitting there thinking, oh, this is just Tom Hanks, you know, he lives in America or whatever. We're really engrossed in what his character is. So just like that, when we're even when we're kind of planning and visualizing our goals, just suspend your disbelief and your limitations for a while. And when we're praying as well, even if we don't believe in anything, just suspend your disbelief, give it a go. Make it a scientific experiment. Ask a question and just make a prayer, just between yourself and the divine. See what happens. And then it's between you and the good Lord, or between you and the universe or the divine, and then nobody can take that away from you.
I think a lot of it has got to do with people worrying what people think of them. They won't do things for themselves because they worry what others think. And that's what I've learned, to look within. So instead of blaming everyone for everything, so for example, you know, being a wheelchair user, you know, like I could blame the transport isn't accessible, there's a big curve or whatever.
Yeah.
But instead of just focusing on that, I look within and not blaming myself, it's my fault, I'm a wheelchair user. But thinking, okay, what can I do to change this? So then you find another way around things, and it keeps you happier.
Yeah.
For not blaming on things you can't change.
Yeah, right.
So by thinking about what other people think, you can't change what they think, but you've got to try and make yourself happy. Once you're happy in yourself, it doesn't matter what other things think.
Yeah, too right. Well, I think you said that well enough yourself. I mean, there's a good prayer, isn't it? My mother's usually got it, and it's not in here, I don't think, but there's the Hawaiian prayer, I think, talks about that. Are you familiar with that? Oh, God grant me the serenity to change the things that I can change, and to leave the things that I can't change, and to know the difference between the two, or something like that. Something along those lines. I didn't quote it properly, but in a gist of what you were saying, really, to things that we can't change. What's the point of just wasting energy and complaining about them? That's what I love about you, Tina, is like your attitude towards life is very inspiring, actually. I know you said you don't like when people call you inspiring, but yeah, I do. Sorry, but I do find you inspiring, and the way you look at life. I think that a lot of people can gain a lot from that, because people, able-bodied people and stuff, may have many more limitations than what you've got, and you're a wheelchair user. So it's to do with the mindset rather than the body.
It doesn't just come naturally, you've got to work at it.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, isn't it? It's not something that, I love that, because a lot of us feel like we're owed something, don't we? We feel like that, like you're saying, we can blame everything, or poor me syndrome. It's as if we're all owed something. It's like we're not owed something until we actually prove ourselves or do something of value in order to get owed that thing, isn't it? So I think it's flipping that mindset and thinking, what can I do, instead of like what's that, focusing on that obstacle that's in the way, isn't it?
And as you've said, to start it off, you've got to get the foundation of the health, so hydration. Yeah,
so the three things would be like, number one would be looking at the hydration, making sure you're having 2 litres of water, nice clean pure water per day, whether it's filtered water, bottled water, spring water is even better again, because it's full of nutrients, alive with oxygen. Then number 2 would be detoxing and cleaning up the diet. So it's very simple things. And then number 3 would be looking at any deficiencies and environmental stuff, for example. So just when you've hydrated, sorted out or removed a lot of your toxins, then starting to look if there was any deficiencies that you may have in certain nutrients, for example, which are affecting your health. You can have like a hair analysis test or a blood test even, to see if there's anything lacking, and then you can supplement that, get that up to scratch, and then you'll find that you've got much more energy and stuff to look at life in a different way. And also looking environmentally to see if there's anything that you're doing on a daily basis you haven't noticed is draining your energy, like electrical equipment now these days, for example, is just one thing that comes to mind. It's prevalent, it's everywhere. Things like Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, all these things, these subtle energies do affect us on a physical level. So some people more than others, depending upon their background. So just be mindful of those things. So the 3 things, just to recap, is hydration, cleaning up the hydration is number 1, number 2, cleaning up the diet, and then number 3 would be looking at like any deficiencies and stuff, or any supplementations you may need to take, and checking out the environment to see what's happening there.
And like maybe other holistic therapies can come into it afterwards, like mindfulness, acupuncture. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, that's just the ground roots, but then when you get that basic foundation of health, then for sure, just again, like I was saying, just ask and it'll be given, seek and you may find, knock and the door will open it to you, it's just start asking, what do I need next? Please show me what I need next. And then you'll find that there's a saying, isn't it, that says the teacher appears when the student is ready. So when it's quite miraculous how it happens, but when we're ready for the next level or the next teaching or the next therapy or whatever, that person will just come into your life, you know, at the right time, if we're mindful of it, if we're making the intention like that. And then, go into who we're drawn to, and go into somebody that maybe a friend has recommended and stuff as well. Because there can be people out there can be some charlatans out there that are doing this, that and the other, proclaiming they're doing so much. But it's important, I feel, to go to somebody that has already got a proven track record, has already worked with us and proven their technique and stuff, you know. Because there's a lot of different things out there these days, and some of them work, some of them don't, you know. So just be mindful of that too.
It's funny how we say challenges get thrown at you if you need to learn a lesson, kind of thing. Because with me, when I hit depression for a period about 3 years ago, and I read the book, Buddhist book, and I will always remember the quote, if you do what you always did, you'll get what you always got.
Yeah, right.
And that's always stuck with me. So from then I thought, I got to change.
Yeah.
So you got to stop just following the same pattern, because you'll keep getting the knocks until you actually do something about it and change.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of the Einstein quote as well I highlighted on the weekend, didn't it? About Einstein says the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. So, you know, how many of us are doing it? I can put my hand up to say I'm doing that in many areas of my life, even now, even with all the stuff I know around it. So, just be mindful of that. And just like what Tina said, if you keep hitting a brick wall all the time, it's like, right, okay, what can I do differently to get around this brick wall? You know, can I go around it? Can I knock it down? You know, there's always different things. But if we're closed-minded, or if you've got closed vision, then those options don't open themselves up to us, because we haven't opened them up to ourselves. It's like Wayne Dyer said, bless him, he's left his body now, and he's left now. He's left the earthly plane now. But he used to say, there was a book out. I think he had a book out which said, or there was a quote at least that said, when we change, the things that we look at change. So as we change our thought, and there's another thing he says, which is, most people say believe it and you'll see it, but he said, see it to believe it, isn't it? But he flips that on his head and said we need to believe it to be able to see it. So until we've got that belief system, sometimes it doesn't manifest into our reality.
Yeah, because Tony Robbins says it's also with the self-belief. So if you believe you can do something, because like he says about losing weight, we all know how to lose weight. You go to the gym, you eat healthy and stuff. So it's not a secret, no one's hiding that. But people don't do it. So it's the belief, it's the motivation to go and do it.
Yeah, too right. And find, you know, and one of the things I often highlight with clients is find out your why as well, because when we really focus in on why we're doing something, what's the reason? Is it for our family? Is it for our purpose, our mission, our whatever it is? When we really find out and focus on the why, then that gives us more reason to do it, if you know what I mean. Yeah. So focusing on that and really understanding why we want to do something, and when we understand that properly, then we've got more motivation to do it, basically. Yeah.
So I mentioned Tony Robbins. He speaks about he's got a morning ritual. So like a routine he does. Do you have any? Yeah,
my morning ritual, if the kids don't disturb it. So my usual morning ritual is, I meditate. And something I learned when I was living in the Hare Krishna temple was that we chant on beats. So we do like our meditation, our prayer, if you like, or meditation. So it's Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. This is just some beads I got a proper bag and stuff, but just to give you an example, and then we go around all the beads until we get to that bead, and then we turn around and go back the other way. Now this is just this has got 27 beads in it, but the full beads have got 108 beads in them. So we chant that mantra on 108 beads and back 16 times. So we do 16 times 108. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. And that can take up to 2 hours. So that's my morning ritual, really.
Yeah.
I mean, there's other things as well, but visualization techniques and stuff, and maybe watching something inspiring or reading something inspiring to set me off on the right foot in the day. One of the worst things we can do is go straight into Facebook or emails, which I'm guilty of sometimes, to be honest. But emails and Facebook, and then we start following somebody else's agenda rather than following our agenda. So it's important to start off on the right foot. And if you're not religious, maybe doing some meditating or visualization, relaxation techniques even. It doesn't have to be anything spiritual or to do with God or the divine. Just doing some relaxation even, waking up and starting the day on the right foot and doing some nice breathing techniques. Maybe just 10 deep breaths. I think many people would be surprised actually when you start to do even just 10 deep breaths in the morning. I got like a self-mastery program I send out, and that's one of the things I say is just do 10 deep breaths just to start off with, and just notice how different it makes you feel. And then you can expand that into a couple of minutes, maybe 15 minutes. So just start in baby steps and then gradually increase it, and if it feels good, do more of it.
Yeah, I do the breathing like in the day as well. So if I get frustrated or something, I'll just do breathing, like 10 breaths.
Great.
It just takes your mind back onto the breath, away from all your thoughts about silly things you're frustrated about.
Yeah, right. It's really fascinating, isn't it? I mean, smokers is a good example. Like smokers, usually they go for a cigarette when they're stressed. What's the first thing they're doing is taking a deep breath, isn't it? You know, so you could argue, is it the nicotine or the smoke, or is it even the deep breath that's helping them to relax? You know, so for sure, I think deep breathing. And if we get into arguments, or if we're losing our temper, or the tricky situations, for sure, breathing is a real quick fire way for us to centre ourselves and get back into that neutral position instead of the mind taking over, isn't it? Because it can go on we can start to go on a negative spiral, can we, with the mind, if we allow it. Our mind can be our best friend or our worst enemy. And if we can stop it in its tracks and say, hang on a minute, I'm not going down your way. People may say it's crazy, it seems like you're speaking to yourself a bit, but you know, start having a conversation with your mind. Hang on a minute, I'm not going down this track, I know where this leads. Hold on. Okay, that's better.
That's what mindfulness teaches you, isn't it?
Yes.
You know, just to be able to separate yourself from your thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, no, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, too right. Because, and a lot of the time they can be just like conditioning, or we're used to acting in a certain way in a certain circumstance. But then when we change that, it's like, oh, that felt good. And then the next time it gets easier. Yeah, it's good.
So, Steve, what motivates you? What keeps you going?
What keeps me going? God. I feel I was saying to Emma the other day, actually, my wife, that and I was highlighting in the New Year, New You event that what you're wanting is also wanting you. So when you start getting on this type of path, you start getting more hungry for it, because it's almost like a pulling. It's like your destiny, if you like, for want of a better word. Your destiny is pulling you. So that's what I feel like it's like, to be honest with you. I feel like it's, and I guess you could say compassion as well, because I know what it feels like to be depressed. I've been suicidally depressed. I've tried taking an overdose. And it doesn't feel good. And I know there's other people that are going through addictions and stuff, for example, with alcohol, drugs, whatever. I've been there. And what motivates me now is that I want to help other people that have been in or are in circumstances like that to get out of it. Because I know that there's tools that you can put in place which are quite simple, really, that can help you to get out of that, you know. So,
but you're a living example that you can get out of it. So.
Exactly, and I've had the pleasure, other people have written books like personal development. This is why I wrote this, because other people have written personal development books and stuff, and I had the pleasure of reading them to help me get out of my stuff. So then I had a burning desire within me to also create my own, because I know how beneficial it was to me. And I'm of the belief that we've all got different talents or blessings that we've got that we can give to others, and different people will get attracted to us because of that. So there'll be people that are attracted to us, like I often find in my practice and stuff with clients or people that come to my events. Often, not people have been through the same things, but similar things to me, and then I'm able to help them quite easily get over those things, you know. So yeah, I believe that we've all got a unique purpose on this earth, in this physical body, and that I'm just trying to fulfill mine, and I'm being pulled towards it really. So it's not sometimes it's not me that's doing it actually, but often, nearly all the time actually, it's not me. It's I'm being, like, one of my prayers is to be like a vessel, you know, for the divine, for that divine energy to come through me and work through me. Use whatever gifts and talents that I've got to help others like that, and just use me just like a screwdriver. Just use me in order to help other people to gain happiness and fulfillment in life, basically. And
a lot of people are chasing that, so probably everyone's chasing happiness. So.
Yeah, isn't it? I mean, you know, there's a lovely quote, isn't it? John Lennon, when John Lennon was in class, his teacher said, what do you think the goal of life is, or something like that.
Yeah.
And John Lennon said, happiness, and she said, you didn't understand the project, and he said, well, you don't understand life.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, I love that quote. And it's so yeah, like you say, we're all looking for happiness and fulfillment, and I found it somewhat, you know, I'm still on a journey of finding deeper happiness and meaning and stuff, because it's continually evolving. That's something I'd like to highlight as well, is that one of the illusions that I got into when I first started getting into this goal setting and stuff was, like, you know, I'd get to this point where everything would be kind of cushy, everything would like flow naturally. But actually it's a continual process of evolution, and when we've attained one goal or challenge, another thing comes. So it's just being mindful of that we're not looking to reach some kind of perfection, but that it's an ongoing development really of consciousness.
But you need that though, it's growth. You need that continuous growth.
Yeah.
If you're stuck in a dead-end job, look at your life and think of change.
Yeah, get comfortable with that change as well. I was speaking to one of my coaches yesterday, and that was one of the things we were highlighting actually. Now, I love change. I didn't like change initially, but because I like change so much now, because I know that within change, transformation occurs. So it's getting over that obstacle and getting comfortable in the uncomfortable, getting comfortable with change, because like I was saying earlier about that's where the magic happens. So the more we can get comfortable in that, then the more happiness we can get really, and the more we can develop and grow. Because if we're going to, like what we highlighted earlier about Einstein's quote about doing the same thing over and over, we're just going to keep getting the same result, and that's the definition of insanity. So that's why we're here. We're here to grow and develop. We're not here to have a 9-to-5 job and then retire and die. We're here to grow and evolve our consciousness, you know, because we're spiritual beings having this human experience and not the other way around.
So before we finish, do you want to tell us a little bit about the Warrior Piece?
I'd love to, yeah. Thanks, Tina. Yeah. So thanks for the interview as well, Tina. Thanks for reaching out. Like I said earlier, I know maybe you don't like being called inspiring, but you are a person. When I started seeing your vlogs, I was sat there watching your vlogs of going up to Penavan and some of the other ones, and I was in tears watching your vlogs. So I did find them very inspiring, and I hope people have enjoyed this as well. So and good luck with this. Is this going to be like one of the first ones that goes out? Yeah. So this is going to be the first of a series. So good luck with the rest of the series and stuff. And I hope all the viewers get a lot from. I'm sure that all the viewers will get a lot from it. And yeah, so this is the Warrior of Peace. This is the book, Steve Roger Phillips, the Warrior of Peace, a guide to overcoming the darkness in a world of light. So I thought that was quite nice to say that, flipping things on his head really. A lot of people focus on like the darkness and stuff, but actually saying this, the light is there, but we just need to step out of the dark, or just kind of become aware that there is light, you know. And yes, just like a new direction in the self-help movement, and I'm really inspired about it. I've poured my heart and soul into it. It's been 7 years in the making, or longer, maybe 8 years in the making. The first time it was released, it was called From Addiction to Freedom, and I had to take it off the shelves because philosophically, after moving into the temple, things had changed, and out of integrity I wanted to make sure that everything was up to scratch as far as my beliefs and stuff are now. And of course things had changed as well, so I'm really excited about it. This is the book. It's a good first step. If you want to get it, you can go to my Facebook page. If anyone would like to like my Facebook page, it's called Steve Roger Phillips, the Warrior of Peace. Like that, and you'll get updates from it. My personal Facebook is Steve Phillips, and if you'd like to add me as a friend, then you have to put something like, I watched your interview with Tina, because I get a lot of friend requests. And my website will be steverogerphillips.co.uk, where you can find out more. So the book is a good first step. And then I've also created a Warrior of Peace network, which I launched in the event New Year, New You last week. I'm really excited about that because the first one is starting on the 3rd Wednesday of February. If you want to find out more about that, go to my Facebook page or ask Tina, but I'm sure she can fill you in. I'm really excited about it because I've seen a gap in the market. There's so many different networks and clubs and stuff out there, but I saw there was a gap in the market for, well, I was looking for something that had a bit more kind of depth to it, had a bit more purpose and mission and stuff to it. I couldn't find one which ticked all those boxes. Like, there's plenty of business stuff out there, but things that don't amalgamate the both of them, if you know what I mean. So that's why I created the Warriors of Peace. It's for entrepreneurs, individuals, authors, speakers, coaches, small business owners that want to make a difference in the world, that want to be the change they want to see in the world, you know, like Gandhi's quote. People that want to make a difference. But then what I've noticed is that so many of those people that want to make a difference, they need speaking skills, they need confidence, they need to know how to work out Facebook and Facebook pages, or Facebook marketing, for example, or adverts, speaker training. There's so many different things that I'm going to be pouring into this. Of my many years, you know, like I've spent over 20 years learning personal development, spent thousands of pounds on courses and stuff, probably over 50,000 easily by now on courses and stuff. And so I'm pouring all of that into this network of peace. I keep saying network of peace. This Warriors of Peace network. It's a fantastic place where people of like mind can come together, learn from each other, learn from myself and guest speakers every month, and progress within themselves, within their business. Even if they're employed as well, there's a lot of people that are employed, they need these skills within employment, or they've got a purpose or mission they want to do, they're working towards even. They've got some philanthropic stuff they want to fulfill alongside their work, for example, or they've got confidence issues, this type of stuff. Then it'll all be fulfilled within the network. And you know, if this conversation has inspired you, then by all means get in touch. Just drop me a message, and you know, if I can help in any way, then I'll try my best to.
Okay. Yeah. I'll put all the links in the description below, so to all your stuff. So
fantastic, thanks, Tina.
Yeah,
there we are. So just click the link.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Good chat.
Thanks a lot, Tina.
Hopefully everyone learn from it and get healthy.
Get healthy, that's the way.
Thank you.
Get healthy, everyone. Go for it. Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Thanks, Tina. Diolch yn fawr.